All right, so good evening, everyone. I'm Rishabh, and we will discuss today's market update and which sectors I'm watching tomorrow, what I'm watching tomorrow, and we'll also first check out how the stocks which we discussed yesterday actually performed. So yesterday I discussed the pharma stocks, the pharma sectors I discussed yesterday, right? And the basic idea was, which we discussed yesterday, was that after a move into the demand zone and after taking out these important climax lows and not sustaining here, we're expecting an up move in the pharma index. So if I pull out the pharma index, so just a second. So if I pull up the pharma index, you see this is what we expected, and this is exactly what played out. The last base from which the fall happened is this area, right? So you see the importance of bases instead of just looking for swing highs and lows. And this is a supply which we are watching out for a quick spike up, right? And this is exactly what happened in the morning, and then the index regressed as it's turning around on the daily chart, and maximum of the stocks are actually trending on the downside. So this played out extremely well. A few strong stocks which I discussed, I told you to avoid. First, let's see why I had told you to avoid Glenmark. Because you see, after this distribution right here, the stock was already showing signs of weakness yesterday, and this was a really good shot around this supply right here today, and this fell down very nicely. But if you see the stocks which outperformed, which we discussed yesterday, they are not in any kind of a bearish structure. On the daily chart, it's very strong. Divis Lab is very strong on the daily chart, and similarly on the 5-minute, it showed its strength. We discussed this on the long side yesterday. So now when you see, this range has been resolved on the upside, right? So now either the stock holds this demand zone, but since this area is very tight and there is a lot of supply here, what I'm expecting is I'm expecting a shakeout below these lows, and then an up move to continue in the Divis Lab counter. So you can trade this tomorrow as well. Torrent Pharma was a really nice one. It's extremely strong. We expected a nice sharp move till this supply, because this was a lot of inefficiency right here, and it immediately contracted. Did not give a proper entry in the morning. I chased this move on the upside on a contraction above the VWAP. So if I remove this, just a second. So I chased this contraction on the upside, and you got to move till this supply where the stock started rejecting, and this supply is inside a distribution base. So that is why the stock has spent some time here trying to move up. Now why I won't trade it? Because this is a lot of resistance right here. All this congestion will prove very to be very I mean, it will not let the stock move up very smoothly. This is what you want to target, not this, right? So you want to capture the move back up if the stock is still in a daily trend, on the uptrend on the daily time frame, and you want to trade it till this demand zone. If it has to go up, it will keep consolidating here and then break out. After the breakout, the stock is in the mood for a fresh move again, right? So as of now, today, let's check out all the sectors, what they're doing. I'll do it live so that you guys have an idea of what I try to do. So if I pull up all the indices, let's check out the PSU bank index. So see, it's now nicely trending on the downside, right? Even though it is at a demand zone right here, there is still a lot of space, and now it's starting to turn around very nicely. So if we go on the lower time frame and mark the supplies, now see what is going on is, this is around the demand zone, and this is the same structure which the pharma stocks are forming, right? And this is the base which the stock formed. So this is roughly the base which the stock formed. You can use this reference high above which the base formed. Now what is the view on PSU stocks? If it tries to go up, this is an area to short, or if it builds up around this low, you target this with a long trade. All right, you can find out the PSU stocks. I'll just give a view on the index. So you can target a long till this trade on the PSU bank index, right? Pretty simple, same as what we discussed, but I doubt it will move very much from that area. Now metals are setting up nicely. If you see, this is the demand zone. So metals pulled back very sharply today. This is a demand zone which made the fresh high, and it's currently inside that demand zone. So now what is happening is, if you see the base which led to the move, this entire thing is actually the base, right? So if it has to move up tomorrow, it has a lot of space till this supply, because it moved down in a very straight line manner. So around this demand zone, either you wait for the stock to build up here, wait for the stocks to build up here, or you wait for a sweep of this low into this area of demand, which is the lowest entry in this entire range, right? But the bias is still on the long side because this is an area of daily demand zone. And if the sweep happens, so understand there are two different scenarios here. If the sweep happens like this below this low, then your target becomes this base, all right? Because this is the distribution now. Hopefully it's clear with everyone. This is the distribution now, and this is what your target will become. And now the stock will decide here if it has to go up or down, right? So this is the view on the metal index. Interesting development here on the daily demand zone. So reality index is just pulling back, so I don't have any view on this necessarily. We talked about the pullback from this area yesterday, I guess, and it's trying to pull back, but still there's a lot of space below, so I'll avoid this index completely. We'll come back to the metal index soon. Now if you see the media index, if you see Nifty media, this is in a fresh downtrend, very strong downtrend. This was the last supply from which the stock pushed up and fell down. So see, this is an area to go short. See, this is an area to go short, and all this is an area to go short in the market, right? So right now it's at an area of daily demand, but what is happening here, there is a small distribution base here as well, so maybe it won't retrace that deep. All right, there are thin areas here which it might try to cover up in a spike, but I don't think it might go up. So it's very ambiguous at this point as to what will happen. There is no clear bias because this is kind of trading between these two very important areas. So this is not a no trade zone for me. I'll wait for a sweep of a low or a high, and the stock will make space for itself before it starts moving up. So Nifty media is also one thing I'll avoid. Nifty finance, see, reacting from this daily demand right here, a very nice reaction today. Very nice reaction today, and see immediate move up till this supply. Why? Because there was nothing below it, right? So all this is tradable on the upside, and this was the base and this was the sweep of the low. So see, it's the same concept. When you see that the price is trading here and it's losing momentum, you know that this sweep of the base is about to happen. This sweep of the lows are about to happen into the previous base, and then it's trying to move on the upside. So this was a very good long which we could have taken today, right? Tomorrow again, the bias is still on the long side. Bias is perfectly on the long side, there is no doubt. This is the demand zone which it's reacting from, and this is the break of your 5-minute structure. I won't take minor structure breaks like this one because these are the lows which are important to me. And now if it pulls back here very sharply, so what I don't want some action like this, right? I don't want any action like this because that will create a congestion again, and that represents some distribution again. So I want the sharp pullback here and then a quick rounding bottom kind of contraction to tap into this high. This is what I'll trade, or what it can do is it can break out straight away, which we'll ignore. But the bias is extremely bullish in this index as well. So finance, metal, and PSU bank also aligning with our finance index. See auto stocks again, I think we discussed it, so we wanted to short it, I guess, if I remember correctly. Or maybe, okay, this one I did not discuss. This is a personal okay. So after the sweep of this low, you see it's venturing back into this demand, this supply. So if you see on the 5-minute what is going on, first let's check the daily chart. Always know the higher time frame bias, extremely bearish bias, and this is the supply. So in this leg of the downtrend, this is the supply right here, which we were watching on the 5-minute as well. So this is the supply, and it's moving nicely. So now what I want is I want it to go above here, and then this is my short here in auto. There's a lot of space below, right? If Nifty gaps up, they will gap up into supply. So we'll check out these auto stocks again. So auto, finance, metal, PSU bank. So you see all these are very high beta sectors, right? Nifty energy is also one thing you can keep on watch, but the problem is it's getting stuck between this supply and this demand. So I'll ignore this index. No clear bias as of now. Bias is on the upside, but the supply is still there, so I'll ignore it. Nifty infra, ignore it. The daily demand zone is very below. And pharma, I've already given a view on Divis Lab, I guess. And see, Nifty FMCG, I think I posted it on the public server that this is very this is ready for moving up. And one stock which hasn't moved up, but it is at a very interesting juncture in Nifty FMCG is your Marico. Now if you see, this is at a daily demand zone right here. Just a disclaimer, I already have positions in it because I have to give a disclaimer if I'm making public content. So if you see, this is at a very strong daily demand zone, and now it's trying to resolve. If you see this range, it's trying to break out on the upside after sweeping these lows, right? So this is what I'm looking for into the daily demand zone. Just a second. So now what I want is either it goes down here and I target these highs, right? Then this inefficiency as well, or either it breaks out and maybe day after tomorrow, on Friday, I target this up move from this bottom like structure right here. So this is a very interesting kind of a structure developing in Marico. And since the metal index, I told you that I'll come back to it, and let's see which stocks are kind of building up in the metal index. So if you see Tata Steel, a lot of space below, I'll personally ignore it till it reaches this demand zone. Hindalco is shifting into a downtrending structure, but if we check the daily chart, this is the high where it's trading above it, right? So the previous high is not a demand zone, but it's an important area of value. So any lower time frame demand zones around this area will prove to be very, very effective. Like you see in this one, metals were dumping throughout the day, but Hindalco was actually reacting from this demand zone. So if you see what is now the view for Hindalco, this is most probably a sweep of the lows. This is a sweep, and these demand zones are very likely to hold and target these highs. If the metal index has to move up, if it does not have to move up, it won't really form anything here. It will just try to roll over like this. So Hindalco is one structure which I'll be watching. And if I see JSW, we already got a move here, JSW Steel. And this is still at this daily demand zone. So this is the demand zone on the daily chart. And now if you see JSW, what I'll wait for, see, this was the range sweep here, and this was the long trade for the test of this supply. So actually the activity which was about to happen is done, and now it's time to go sideways in JSW. So I'll ignore this. NMDC is completely in a downtrend. I will ignore this one, completely shifting to a downtrend, but my view on metals is bullish. So NMDC might react till the supply, but again it will come down. So this is a very bearish structure. This might react from the demand. So even though the selling is very fast, there is a lot of liquidity lying above these highs, and there's a lot of space here. So if the metal index decides to remain bullish, this will convert into a sweep, and this cluster right here is very, very important for a long trade, for a trade above this highs and the test of this supply, right? So you can keep a watch on National Aluminium as well. SAIL, again, it's the same view, but there is no space on the upside. So now see the difference between SAIL and National Aluminium. SAIL, there is no space on the upside, and National Aluminium is forming the same structure but with a lot of space on the upside. So I'll prefer taking National Aluminium instead of SAIL. And same with Jindal Steel, very strong supply here, so I won't really try to trade into this. Vedanta is a nice one. Again, you see this demand zone is actually holding, and the range is swept. This, it's tested already. There was some news probably, and this is a lot of space to work with. So let it contract for a day or two and then take it on the upside, if it has to go on the upside. Otherwise it will just roll over and test out this demand zone, right? So yeah, I'll discuss the view on Nifty as well. So this is the chart of Nifty, and we discussed that this is getting weak and we're expecting a sharp pullback, right? So we are expecting a pullback till this base, but it actually pulled back till this base, which is fine. And now it took out the structure. So see, after sweeping, so this was a sweep of the high, right? This was a sweep of the high, after which it stopped making new highs. So there is some exhaustion here, right? And now what is happening is we are sweeping these lows as well into the base here, right? And if you see which one held, the low held, right? The test of, so if you just try to visualize it, it's kind of an advanced observation. This area, right? Both these are liquidity moves on the up and down side, and this is my range. So which one is actually holding? The lower one is actually holding. So this was a very strong indication that Nifty is biased on the upside, and the bias remains on the upside in Nifty. Around this demand zone, you can look for your long trades if it doesn't gap up. All right. So that is my view on the market, and that is it. If you liked it, you can like and share the video, and we will meet tomorrow. Have a good day tomorrow.